You never work a day in your life if you love what you do. And I was a young fella and went overseas and enjoyed travel and got a job with Kentucky, travel guide in Europe, 14 years taking tours around Europe. So yeah, I had an exciting life, and yeah, wonderful as it is. And I met my wife on one of my tours. She was on a Trafalgar tour, Vicky, and we had to make that decision in life. We wanted to have kids. Where do we want to live? So we decided we tossed a coin actually, and Brisbane won. When I started, I know there was a lot of humour and a lot of jokes going around about me. How long will this young guy last? I ran around the racetracks with a clipboard under my arm and knew nothing about racing. And in those days, I mean, a guy like Bruce McLaughlin, you know, he was invaluable to me. I'd talk to Bruce and ask him the dumb questions. And look, I made a lot of mistakes in those early days, but look, it's like anyone in life. You can make mistakes, but try not to make them again. And that's what I did when I started in racing, and I was very fortunate. I enjoyed a level of success when I kicked off, and you know, it's been a hell of a journey since, 21 years. And Rob Chobo was my very, very first owner, outside owner, should I say. Then my brother Wayne and his horse Rob, we won 13 races with him. And it really started from then. That was back in the late 90s, and we grew, and you know, I was fortunate that first year we were 6th in the premiership, and I got lucky, I guess. But my history in racing is a bit different than most others. Generally, it's a family thing, it's a traditional thing, it's passed down from generation to generation. But I'd never been involved in racing, so it was, you know, clear eyes to a degree. I knew nothing about racing. I was a voracious reader, and I asked a lot of questions. And as I said, I made a lot of mistakes too, but I felt I learned from them, and I've had a hell of a ride. It's wonderful, and the fact that I've been part of, you know, the history of Queensland racing with, you know, the likes of Wooram and Solzhenitsyn and Fire Up Fifi, and of course the great Buffering. And you know, every time I drive into work and I drive past the statue of Buffering, I say hello to him every time I drive in, and that's of course many times a week. And yeah, it's a wonderful thing for me. Certainly gives me a lot of pride, a lot of passion. Back to the time when we took Wooram down for the Oakley Plate, and I mean, it's synonymous with racing, isn't it? One goes hard in front, it's called an Oakley Plater. It's a tough sprint race to win. We took Wooram down there. We knew he'd be back in the field. Damien Brown, one of Queensland's great riders. You know, I said to Damien in those days, you're going to be back last, but you know, smoke your pipe. He smoked it all right. 200 metres, he was still last, but gee, what an incredible finish.
Narrowly at the 200 from Winter King. On the outsiders, Facile Tigra starting to come home, and then Katana at Elite Falls. Sepoy the leader, 100 to go. First command, Facile Tigra close, and Elite Falls. Elite Falls swaps them, and Wooram came late. Elite Falls and Wooram hit it together from Facile Tigra, and First Command close up on the inside.
It was a hell of a win, and that was our first Group 1 win. And then, you know, Solzhenitsyn, he was a wonderful horse. I remember, funny story, Shane Scriven rode him in a Class 3 over here at Doomben one day, and he ran second or third, and Shane came in and said, look, he's a nice horse, but he's probably reached his grade.
But Solzhenitsyn's coming home, and then Jose Solzhenitsyn after Spirit Song. Solzhenitsyn out wide, hits the front. Solzhenitsyn won the Turek by a head to Spirit Song.
Good on you, Shane. He went on 1-2 Group 1s.
Brownie, this horse is such a warrior, Buffering, and it just gave you a super ride.
He did, mate. Everything just worked out as we'd hoped, and geez, Rob's done a great job getting him back.
Buffering was, you know, he was popular. He was the people's champ because he always give his all, and it took him 18 cracks at a Group 1. And funny, isn't it, how it works? And he won 7 Group 1s in his next 10 starts. So hell of a journey he took us on.
Old Buffering though, he's had a big kick down the straight. He leads from Ball of Muscle, Phototon, Angelic Light flying home. But Buffering, you're an old marvel. Buffering beat Ball of Muscle, Angelic Light.
It took us a while to break through, but it was an era of sensational sprinters. Black Caviar, well, she was the benchmark, in my opinion, you know, the best sprinter I've seen in Australia in my lifetime anyway. And Haylist, I mean, we ran him to a neck in the Newmarket Group 1. His greatest achievement was undoubtedly winning the Dubai Alcoz Sprint Group 1 on the world stage.
Gates fly, they're racing in the Alcoz Sprint, and Peniophobia and Jungle Cat came out very quickly. Not Listen to Me began well.
But probably the endearing thing about the horse the most is just that courage.
Buffering on the grandstand side, Penophobia and Erdogel buffering in front, 100 metres left to go from Penophobia. Erdogel's lunging at the end, buffering in front. Life is great in the Sunshine State, and those Queenslanders are celebrating. Buffering beat Erdogel and Penophobia. Jungle Cat moved third, Lady Shipman fit yarn. Soul Power was next.
Aussies loved him, and Aussies still do. You know, they love a horse that, even if they're winning or even if they're not winning, Buffering was still popular because he was in there having a crack. He got knocked to the canvas and he got up and had a crack time and time again. And he holds the Australian record. I don't know if you know this. He's running more Group 1s than any horse in the history of Australia, 35. Won 7, was placed in, you know, a host of others. You know, I don't know the facts, you know, probably 15, 16 odd, but I drive in to the gate through the tunnel at Eagle Farm every day I go to work, and there's a statue there, and I tell you what, it brings a tear to my eye every time I drive past him, and I always salute him. I mean, I've been a successful trainer now for 22 years. I'm rising 60. You know, I think the future's good, and I've just joined in a partnership with a young fella with a burning passion, and that's Chris Anderson. And Chris and I have been mates for a long, long time. And I just think it's the way of the future to go. It's exciting for me. I know it's exciting for Chris, and I think we're going to be a formidable team. When Chris first started in racing, I think it was 10 years ago, he came to me and said, can I do some work experience with you? I loved his passion from that day on, and I've carefully watched his career as it's grown, because I just think it's the way of the future. I think we're both successful in our own rights, but I think we can do an even better job combining our resources, combining our experience, bringing our teams together. And I think we can provide a better product to our clients. I've always been known as a good communicator with my owners. Bloody hopeless on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. I don't have it. Chris is brilliant at it. So I think we can combine, we can give a better information service to our clients, and we both know what we're doing with our horses. We've already invested heavily at the sales in January and also the recent March sales. And you know, I love my industry. I'm passionate about what I do, and joining with Chris has reinvigorated me. He's the young buck, he's the guy going forward. It's Anderson Heathcote Racing. But I must say, Chris has put his hand up and said, we'll probably use predominantly pink and black colours, my colours, but we'll use the black and white sash of Chris just to merge us together, because look, it's important for Chris's owners, and it's the same with my owners. It's important to know that there's not really going to be a great deal of change. We think any change will be positive.